While my brother and his wife are away on a trip, I'm taking care of my niece at his house. We talked about our plans for tomorrow with excitement. However, when my niece seemed ready for bed and opened the closet door, I was surprised to see her sliding into the closet without any hesitation. I quickly grabbed her arm, and she looked at me with a puzzled expression. Let me tell you a bit about myself. I'm Hannah, a 24-year-old housewife. My brother is 5 years older than me, and we've always supported each other since we lost our parents. Even after getting married, we maintain a close family-oriented relationship. My husband's parents live far away, making it challenging to ask for their help. My brother had a shotgun wedding, and his wife became estranged from her parents. With no nearby neighbors to turn to, we found comfort in our supportive relationship. Both our families have daughters, and my niece Scarlett and my daughter Alice grew up like real sisters. Recently, my brother and his wife celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary with a trip. They asked me to look after Scarlett during their overnight absence. Initially, they planned for me to pick up Scarlett, but my brother was concerned about leaving the house unoccupied for security reasons. So, I agreed to stay overnight at their house, leaving my daughter with my husband. Days passed uneventfully until the day of their anniversary trip. As planned, I went to stay at my brother's house. Scarlett seemed a bit nervous as she watched her parents leave, and I took her hand to reassure her. Now, it was just Scarlett and me house-sitting. Initially, I planned to bring my daughter along and have my husband pick her up at bedtime. However, Scarlett was insistent about not inviting her over, so I gave up on that plan. Although we had visited as a family before, Scarlett must have had a reason for not wanting my daughter there. It's a shame we can't invite Alice over to play, but we really can't, Scarlett said with a hint of loneliness. How about we go to my house after breakfast tomorrow? I suggested, making her eyes light up. I had prepared some challenging games and puzzles, considering Scarlett's usual playmate, my daughter. We spent time playing games and preparing dinner together. However, Scarlett seemed nervous the entire time, sticking close to me and frequently glancing around the room. Initially, I thought she was just lonely or anxious without her parents around, but her behavior remained unchanged. When I asked if something was bothering her, she kept saying, "I'm fine, nothing's wrong," without revealing what was really on her mind. Scarlett's behavior seemed like she was on guard against something invisible. I only understood the meaning behind her actions when bedtime arrived. Changing into her pajamas, Scarlett smiled and said, "Let's go to bed early today and start out for Aunt Hannah's house in the morning." As she opened the closet door, I noticed a set of bedding prepared inside at some unknown time. Trying to understand, I blurted out, "Wait, Scarlett, you're sleeping in there," louder than intended. Scarlett replied seriously, "Yes, but it's okay. I'll leave it slightly open. If anything happens, I'll wake up right away." Trying to hide my confusion, I suggested, "Why don't we sleep together tonight?" After a few tries, Scarlett reluctantly agreed and got into my bed. She asked if it was okay to keep the bedding in the closet as her hiding spot, and even though it deepened the mystery for me, I naturally agreed. Curious, I asked, "Why do you need a hiding place?" After making me promise not to laugh, Scarlett whispered, "The monster is coming. It's very scary and clever. That's why it only comes when Daddy is not here. Mommy says I can't leave the closet until she has driven the monster away, and she always cries while she's doing it." I tried to help Scarlett when she spoke about the monster, but it became too scary when it pounded on the closet door. Hugging her tightly, I felt a sigh inside me. The monster seemed real, not just a ploy to get a scared child into bed. Caught off guard by my sister-in-law's affair, I didn't know what to do. If the monster was her lover, it wouldn't come here when she wasn't around. However, Scarlett believed the monster appeared when her father wasn't home. Today, with my brother away, she insisted not inviting my daughter over and stuck close to me, always watching the windows and the front door. Thinking of Scarlett and my trusting brother made me angry at my sister-in-law, but comforting Scarlett was my priority. I squeezed her hand and reassured her. It's okay because Aunt Hannah is here today. The monster is smart, right? It might get scared and stay away because it sees a stranger. Also, your mom, who's usually targeted, is with your dad today, so the monster can't approach her. Despite my efforts, Scarlett's face remained clouded with anxiety, and as time passed, her fear of the monster's arrival grew. I tried to calm her down, suggesting we hide in the closet together. I encouraged her to talk to me about anything bothering her about the monster, hoping to address each concern and make her feel sleepy. However, after hearing another fact from Scarlett, I couldn't sit still. I rushed out of the house with her still in her pajamas, driving back home to explain the situation to my husband. He headed to my brother's house with some friends and stayed overnight. Around 10 p.m. that day, I received a call from my brother on vacation, asking about Scarlett's condition. He reminded me to forget about my husband and daughter, get some rest, and lock the doors. After hanging up, I looked at Scarlett, sound asleep with my daughter, determined to drive the monster away. The next morning, my husband, who had stayed overnight, came back. Trembling with fear and anger, I listened to his account of what happened. Relieved that my decision had been the right one, I spent the day at home with Scarlett and my family, waiting for my brother and his wife to pick her up. When my brother saw us, he immediately questioned why Scarlett and I had left the house during the night. Why didn't you guys stay at the other house? I told you repeatedly not to leave our home. What were you thinking going back to your own place after agreeing not to? My brother's strong protest about me breaking my promise made me uncomfortable. Calmly, I asked him how he knew we weren't home while he was on vacation. My brother responded, I'd given Scarlett a smartphone with a GPS function. His eyes avoided mine as he answered. However, if that were true, he wouldn't have insisted so persistently on the phone last night for us not to leave the house. It would have been easy for him to verify through the GPS that we weren't at his house. Suppressing the urge to confront my brother immediately, I continued the conversation quietly to avoid the kids in the other room hearing. By the way, late last night, 2 unfamiliar men showed up at your place. Who were they? Why would they come to a house that should only have Scarlett and me in the middle of the night? Intruders came. I'm glad you're safe. My brother's voice trembled. However, it wasn't out of fear for the intruders or relief that his daughter was unharmed. His gaze darted around as if carefully selecting his words. Pressed for more information, I demanded to know who the suspicious men were. But my sister-in-law interrupted, loudly calling Scarlett over. She insisted they leave, and as Scarlett timidly appeared from the other room, her mother forcefully took her hand. Suddenly, my brother's demeanor changed. I'm not forgiving you for this, but we're leaving for today, he said, pushing Scarlett towards the door. They forcefully tried to take Scarlett, who clearly did not want to leave, back home with them. What? We're not done talking yet. I tried to stop them, but they ignored me, not even bothering to look back. Scarlett, resisting her parents, reached out to me. I quickly pulled Scarlett towards me, sheltering her behind my back when my sister-in-law raised her voice in surprise and let go of Scarlett's hand. Despite their aggressive words, my husband and I were determined not to let them take Scarlett. We managed to force them out of the room, and at the front door, waiting police officers swiftly apprehended my brother and his wife. The police tried to calm the disoriented couple, who clearly did not expect this turn of events. My brother argued, "If you don't give us back our daughter, then you should be the ones getting detained." My sister-in-law added, "They took our daughter from home and locked her up here. Please save Scarlett right away. You shouldn't be holding me back. I won't run or hide, so let me go," my brother shouted. Scarlett and my daughter, who had noticed the commotion and come out, were talking behind me, looking surprised. My daughter innocently remarked, "She doesn't seem locked up at all." I'm not sure whether my brother heard her, but he turned to Scarlett and commanded her to come to him in a strong tone. However, the severity of her father's demeanor scared her, and she refused to leave my side. My sister-in-law stood silently by the police officer, just watching my brother, not even trying to call Scarlett over. My brother, infuriated that things weren't going his way, was yelling in the entrance, completely restrained by the police officer. Seeing this, my husband pushed his smartphone in front of my brother's face. I told Scarlett and my daughter to wait once more in the other room and shut the door so they wouldn't hear the audio. After confirming this, my husband started playing a video he had recorded at my brother's house the night before without uttering a word. The video started with a key slowly turning in the lock of the house. It seemed they had used a spare key. Two men quietly entered the room, appearing in high spirits, greeting each other and mentioning my brother's name. "Didn't know we had company. Hey, how much did you pay?" one of them asked. He mentioned it was a 30% discount because she's his sister. When my husband's friend gave a vague response, avoiding the question, one of the men boasted that because they were good friends with my brother and his wife, they got an even bigger discount, even mentioning a specific amount. They continued, "We're lucky. We get to play with the kids today." The profile of the man who laughed was so grotesque that it would be an insult to demons to call him one. I couldn't see the screen, but the audio alone was enough to make my skin crawl. Afterward, my husband's friend bombarded the men with questions, asking if they often came to this house and if they always came as a pair. Sensing something was off, the men asked where Scarlett and I were. Seeing my husband's enraged expression as he responded, "They're not here," it seemed they finally realized the gravity of the situation. Realizing they weren't among friends, the men quickly fled. Until the very end, they were either unaware of my husband's recording or deliberately didn't mention it. My brother, supposed to be their close acquaintance, seemed to have discovered the existence of the video for the first time and was shaking. Now deathly pale, he frantically stated, "I didn't know anything. I've been framed." I had thought, until watching this video, that my brother was uninvolved and that my sister-in-law was the mastermind behind everything. However, the video contained clear evidence of my brother offering up Scarlett and me. His ignorance wouldn't convince anyone. My brother was taken away by the police, and my sister-in-law feigned ignorance of the situation. But the police officer, who had already heard Scarlett's testimony, asked her to accompany him because he had many questions to ask her. Thus, they ended up in custody together. At a later date, the police interrogated my brother and his wife, who ended up confessing everything and were subsequently arrested. It turns out my sister-in-law would lure men into their home on the nights my brother worked late shifts and received money from them. Realizing there was a demand for children among certain groups, she carefully exploited Scarlett in a way that wouldn't run afoul of the law. Scarlett, who knew nothing and was trying to help her bullied mother, was photographed posing as she was told. The pictures were merely innocent photos of a child. Yet my sister-in-law would go out of her way to take these simple photos with a disposable camera, develop them, and show them to her customers, inducing a bidding war as though at an auction. What's more, she only lent out the photos, she never sold them. As despicable as this was, it should have had nothing to do with my husband and me. When my brother became aware of his wife's business, he didn't scold her or protect his daughter. Instead, unbelievably, he started gathering men to become customers. More staff meant more revenue. With such a simple mindset, my brother decided to involve me in the business. Of course, I would never agree to it if my brother simply asked me. So, my brother thought to force me to work and continued to threaten me by taking photos of the scene. They carefully chose a day when the neighbors wouldn't be around and locked Scarlett and me in their house. They exchanged the spare key to their home for a large sum of money and went out of town for an overnight trip just to prove they weren't involved. What my brother and his wife didn't expect was that Scarlett, who had always obeyed my sister-in-law without question, regretted telling me about the monsters to protect me. Scarlett didn't understand most of what was happening in the house, but she did understand that the monsters were targeting them. By telling me, she brought the hellish situation at my brother's house to light. That night, when I learned about Scarlett's predicament, I asked my husband to capture the image of these so-called monsters. They carelessly leaked a lot of information, so the police acted promptly when we reported it. We also reported it to Child Protective Services, making sure to protect Scarlett. When we told the police officer about my brother and his wife coming to our house, they were able to secure Scarlett from them. My brother and his wife were arrested on serious charges, such as child welfare law violations and violations of laws preventing child exploitation. Despite being first-time offenders, they could not avoid imprisonment. The photos of a child they had been taking over several years were considered highly malicious. Once an image is leaked on the internet, it can never be erased. I was shocked when the police told me this, but fortunately, my sister-in-law had not digitized or sold Scarlett's photos, and they were securely stored, preventing any leakage. I don't understand how my brother, who had been kind and reliable to me, could have become such a terrible person. We have been helping each other out as usual until then. The fact that I didn't notice this distortion scares me. In the wake of my brother's arrest and the unsettling exposure of the nefarious plot orchestrated by him and his wife, we found ourselves facing not just the legal aftermath, but a profound reevaluation of our family dynamics. The so-called monsters, whose malevolent actions had cast a dark shadow over our lives, attempted to plead innocence, contending that their unsuccessful endeavors somehow absolved them of guilt. However, the police, armed with compelling evidence discovered at their residence and the confessions extracted during my brother and his wife's interrogations, promptly apprehended them on a slew of charges. As we navigated the complexities of confronting these malevolent forces, our focus inevitably shifted to Scarlett's uncertain future. With her parents incarcerated and declared unfit guardians, the legal machinery dictated the removal of custody from their grasp. Yet, an intricate conundrum loomed over us. Both my brother and I lacked living parents, and my sister-in-law's family remained estranged. The prospect of Scarlett potentially being placed with foster parents underscored the urgency of a significant decision. In the midst of heartfelt discussions and contemplation, my husband and I arrived at a life-altering choice to formally adopt Scarlett. This decision transcended mere legal obligations. It was a testament to the profound love and connection that had blossomed between us. Scarlett, once a victim of circumstances, had become an integral part of our lives, and leaving her vulnerable to the uncertainties of foster care was inconceivable. This pivotal decision also marked a turning point in our family's narrative. It presented an opportunity to uproot and relocate to my in-laws' town, where familial support and love would serve as the bedrock of our shared journey. Our daughter, who had long yearned for the presence of an older sister, and who cherished the weekends spent with her grandparents, found unbridled joy in the realization that Scarlett would now fulfill that role. What were once sporadic visits transformed into moments of shared laughter, stories, and the warmth that only familial bonds can provide. The narrative of Scarlett, liberated from the oppressive clutches of her abusive parents, unfolded as a tale of resilience and grace. Her adaptation to the role of an older sister was not just a testament to her own strength, but a reaffirmation of the power of love and support in fostering healing and growth. The bond that evolved between us was not just a legal formality, but a genuine connection grounded in trust, care, and shared aspirations. As we embarked on this transformative journey, my own values came to the forefront. The commitment to stand by Scarlett, to shield her from the traumas of her past, and to provide a nurturing environment became paramount. This was not just a legal adoption, it was an embrace of responsibility and an affirmation of the belief that family extends beyond blood ties. The relocation to my in-laws' town represented a deliberate choice to surround ourselves with a community that valued togetherness and support. It was a manifestation of the belief that shared joy is magnified and shared burdens are lightened within the embrace of a close-knit community. The values of love, empathy, and resilience became guiding principles as we forged ahead into this new chapter. In the broader context, this experience underscored the importance of vigilance against the subtle distortions that can seep into familial relationships. My brother, once kind and reliable, had succumbed to a darkness that went unnoticed until the revelations unfolded. It served as a stark reminder that genuine connections demand ongoing attention, communication, and a willingness to address any signs of deviation from the norm. Through this journey, the significance of protecting the innocence of a child emerged as a core value. Scarlett's resilience in the face of adversity, her ability to adapt, and her eventual blossoming into a happy and peaceful life reinforced the belief that children are incredibly resilient when nurtured in an environment grounded in love and understanding. As we moved forward as a united family, the commitment to honesty and open communication became paramount. The shadows of the past were not ignored but confronted with transparency and empathy. These values, interwoven into the fabric of our family, became the pillars supporting our shared growth and healing. In adopting Scarlett, I discovered the transformative power of love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of building a family based on shared values. Our journey continues, marked by the understanding that family is not merely a legal construct, but a tapestry woven with threads of love, trust, and shared experiences. Scarlett's presence in our lives serves as a constant reminder of the capacity for healing and growth when guided by values rooted in empathy, resilience, and unwavering love. I hope you guys enjoy our video. To watch more interesting stories, hit that subscribe button. Thank you.